How's it going, guys, and welcome back to BL3's Forgotten, the series where I take a look at underused and not often talked about pieces of gear to determine whether or not they deserve to be remembered within the modern meta of the game or should be left behind and forgotten. And today we are taking a look at the Gold Rush. The Gold Rush is a vault card weapon, so if you want to get one for yourself, you gotta make sure you have enough keys within the vault card to Welcome to Pandora. As long as you do, you can simply navigate to the vault card within your inventory and claim the Gold Rush from there. The Gold Rush is a legendary Hyperion SMG and is locked to corrosive. Enemies killed with the Gold Rush will drop extra cash, and while the Gold Rush is in your hand, picking up cash grants you stacks, with each of these stacks giving 5% fire rate, reload speed, and mag size. This can stack up to 20 times for a total of 100% fire rate, reload speed, and mag size. Notably, this buff will persist even if you swap weapons. The Gold Rush is another gun that I'm sure will get me more comments saying, everyone remembers this gun, idiot boy with a hollow skull. But I'm telling you, this thing blew up fast and burnt out faster, like a lot of the vault card weapons. Troubleshooter, anyone? The Gold Rush had a hell of a lot of popularity when it first dropped, considered one of the strongest SMGs in the game, and honestly, very likely still holding that title in some regard. But its popularity fell off a cliff after some time, and nowadays, I barely ever hear anyone talk about it. Even in conversations around utility, the Gold Rush is barely brought up despite that effect persisting between weapon swaps. Yeah, 100% fire rate, reload speed, and mag size that can be swapped onto any other gun in this game. Strong as fuck, rarely do I ever see it mentioned. But even in its own regards, the Gold Rush is a killer SMG. The base stats are already really damn good at 21k damage, 7.87 fire rate, and a 37 mag size. That damage is actually one of the highest base damages for a Hyperion SMG, only being beat out by the Smog substantially, and by the Troubleshooter by a measly 217 damage. The only downside to this weapon is that it's corrosive locked, which is likely the single worst element in BL3 given the existence of cryo and often lack of armored enemies. But corrosive lock straight up just seemed to be a balancing factor for a lot of really strong guns, and I can only assume that this is the same situation because the only thing I can really think thematically wise is corrosive is green, and that's also generally the color associated with money and or envy. But considering the fact that there's the predatory lending, which is literally the gun that shoots money, and that can come in any element, that and that the Gold Rush has literally no other theming going on with it, not even having a weapon skin, I kind of have my doubts that this is the purpose of it being corrosive locked. So you have this gun with incredible base stats that then buffs 3 of them by 100%. This thing slaps like an Italian father during the World Series while reloading quicker than I last in bed with your mother. It only really falls off slightly during True Guardian Takedown, and while noticeable, it's still an amazing weapon that could easily carry you through the entirety of that takedown. So why the hell is it forgotten? Well, for one, this seems to just be a curse that a lot of the vault card items have that aren't named the Guardian Angel, Blade Fury, or Schluter. Manuel also still has its fans. Big shout out to those 3 people. You're doing the Lord's work, spreading the good word, but dear God, you guys are loud. But there's tons of great weapons and gear within the vault cards that I really don't hear all that much about, and for the most part, I'm not entirely sure why. Arms race weapons, I get it a bit more with because that's tied to an entire game mode that has a decent bit of haters, and of course the same goes for Guardian Takedown. With vault cards, the weapons are incredibly easy to get and can be grabbed at literally any time. It's a bit of a mystery to me as to why so many of these fly under the radar. But as well as that, in the case of the Gold Rush, it's also just fucking boring. No unique weapon skin, no unique gameplay pattern, no unique projectiles, nothing. It is a pure stat stick. Compare this to the very similar Cheap Tips, another weapon with a stacking mechanic based on picking shit up that can also be used to benefit other weapons, and I am much more of a fan of that gun just because it feels more interesting to use. The Cheap Tips has a skin to it, and it has a unique item that you pick up in the casino chips. That alone is enough for me to excuse the more stat-sticky nature of that gun, because it has a cool theme to it, and that alone can make it cool to use. The Gold Rush could have really benefited from similar theming. Give it a unique skin to match the aesthetic, and maybe add a chance for it to drop a gold bar, immediately giving you like 10 stacks or something. It would also be cool if enemies had an added visual effect when killed with this gun of exploding into gold coins or something. It also would have made it more obvious if it is the case that it's locked to corrosive as part of that theming. It wouldn't actually do much to change the power level of this gun, because even with the gold bar mechanic, This gun is already at max stacks in most mobbing situations anyways, but it would do a hell of a lot to make the gun more fun. Currently, it just feels like a very, very strong purple Hyperion SMG, which isn't to say that I don't think the gun is cool. It is. I think that the stat spread that stacks here is very unique and a super cool idea, giving you a shit ton of fire rate while also buffing up the stats that often limit fire rate by the same amount. It's an awesome weapon and a well-designed one at that. I just wish it was a little bit more fun. It's also got some stuff going for it synergy-wise as well. Given the fact that it stacks a lot of secondary stats over damage, this makes it an incredibly good option to slot into builds that are more focused on going all in on damage. If you're using the Gold Rush, you don't need to worry about fire rate or mag size or reload speed because it alone is giving you more than enough for it to be usable even without anything additional in those stats. The Gold Rush also has pretty good synergy with the Atlas money grenades or the Cheddar Shredder or anything else that could potentially increase money drops like Loot Explosion, because of course more money drops means even more stack up time. I do think the increased cash drops for the most part just with the Gold Rush itself are more than enough for upkeep, but it could help out a hell of a lot in those tougher mobbing sections like True Guardian Takedown. Overall, the Gold Rush is an amazing gun that I often just have no desire to use. It is genuinely still to this day one of the best SMGs in this game, very easily in fact, as well as being one of the best utility guns for swapping its effects onto other guns. And while it's a very interesting gun and one that I do think is well designed, I just simply do not have that much fun using it. This is a gun that absolutely would benefit from having a bit more theming to it, or at the very least just a unique weapon skin. If you're gonna have a super simple Hyperion SMG like this, that functions effectively like a normal Hyperion SMG, you gotta do something to make it a bit more fun to use. But if you are just looking for a very strong Hyperion SMG to slot into pretty much any build ever, I do highly recommend the Gold Rush. That's gonna about do it for this one though. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I'll be live right after this video goes up, right here on YouTube and also over my Twitch channel, where there'll be a link to down in the description below. And just under that is a link to my Discord server where you can come and join and hang out. But with that all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.